Welcome to On the Clock with Prospect Dawn and Blue Chip Prospect. This is an exciting podcast that we're doing before the draft and every single week on Fridays that we're recording on Fridays. But how are you doing, Blue Chip Prospect?
I'm doing very well, you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Combine is next week, so I'm going to be driving out to Buffalo. Very excited for that.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of measurements and clips and things like that, so it's a very exciting time. But I think that this is one of the drafts that has a lot of different tiers. So I think that we should be talking about a tier drop off where we identify the tiers is so we should start there. Is there anything that anybody that you see that starts the teardrop? Like is there a
Bef-
specific pick?
I think before we get to the tier, let's talk
Okay.
about your combine stuff.
Oh, okay, sure.
What are you going to do there? Are you going to interview players, or are you going to measure them yourself? Or
Well, well, that's a really good point. I'm going to be bringing a tape measure, just so that I can, whenever I see somebody, I'm going to be like, who is he tall? Is
can I
Victor
measure
Eklund
your
5'11"?
thighs?
Oh no.
Are you
I
strong
will
in your
get kicked
legs?
out. My first combine, I'm getting kicked out. No, yeah, the combine is going to be great on Friday. I believe it's just going to be some media availability.
Oh, he's
There.
there again.
Okay, so on Friday there's going to be some media availability. There on Saturday there's going to be drills and just like things like that. So obviously the combine it's open for media. So I'm just going to be there with my little video recorder, my GoPro, and my camera. And I feel
Mhm.
like I'm going to try to get as much clips out as possible on X
Yeah.
and YouTube. Um, I feel like that would be the best thing to do.
Yeah, and we can talk about what you did and all this stuff in a next podcast or something like that. So,
For sure, for sure. Next podcast that comes out, guys, we're going to be talking about all the things that I hear about the combine. So make sure you're like and subscribe to Blue Chip Prospect and the Prospect On because this is going to be a very exciting time.
all right, cool. So now we can start the tier thing. Uh, all right. So first thing first, I think most people have it that way, where there's a tier at the top, a tier that's probably like two players, which are Matthew Schaefer and Michael Misa. For myself, even though I have them in the same tier, I would say that Matthew Schaefer is probably like half a tier above Michael Misa for me. Even though Michael Misa put incredible numbers in the OHL, and he can basically do it all. He can skate, he can shoot, he can make plays, he can create space, he does all the thing, and he's super competitive. He works hard, even defensively. Even if he does all that, I think that Matthew Schaefer has even higher upside than Michael Misa. So they are in the same tier. But if I was picking, I would take Matthew Schaefer first because I think that he has a little thing over Michael Misa.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that there's a teardrop after the Schaefer Michael Misa tier, like you said. I think that Schaefer probably is the number one player, but Michael Misa is right there. But then when you go into three or four, there's kind of a group of players that could go anywhere from probably James Haggins, Porter Martone, and even like a player like Jake O'Brien that could be in there. I don't think that he's in the same tier model, but I think that
Mhm.
there's just he could be drafted three based on upside. So I think that there is just a gap of players after two. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, for me, the next tier after Matthew Schaefer and Michael Misa, the next tier is not just two players. It's goes a little further than that. It
Yes.
goes
Yep.
actually all the way up from three to number eight, and it stops at Victor Eklund. Like it's basically like if you take it in order in my list, it would be Caleb Desnoyers, Porter Martone, Roger McQueen, James Higgins, Jake O'Brien, and Victor Eklund. Those are the next player that I think are in a certain tier. You could put Anton Frondel in there, maybe Carter Bear too, but right now I have them in the next tier because I think Victor Eklund is a notch above those two players. And while the other one players like Martone, McQueen, James Higgins, they're all like players that could be stars at the NHL level. So
No, I completely agree with you. I think it's from on my list: James Haggins, Porter Martone, Desnoyers, Frondel, O'Brien. I think Victor Eklund, if he weighs, or I think that he's skilled. So yeah, Victor Eklund is probably in that tier. It's probably for me James Hagens and Porter Martown, then a tier drop. But obviously, what we're seeing with Desnoyers and Frondel being maybe third or fourth pick, I don't think that scouts also see it like that. So yeah, it's just a group of players that could be picked anywhere from that
Mm.
third to ninth pick. So I agree with you on there.
So basically, you would have Higgins and Potter Martone like in a tier the second tier, like tier number two,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then you would have the rest of Denoyer, O'Brien, Eklund, Frondel in tier number three. That's how you would
Yep.
see it. I
Yeah.
see.
Maybe even include Roger McQueen there because I do like his upside, but that
In
back
the
injury
second
is
or in
tough
the third?
in the third tier. Yeah.
Okay.
With
So
those group of players.
I'm just gonna write down yours so like this we can compare. And then you said James Higgins, and then after that, Caleb Denoyer, Roger McQueen, Jake O'Brien, said Anton Frondel. And do you put Victoria Eklund or not in the third one?
Yeah, let's put Victor Eklund. I'm a big fan of him. I think he drove play for Anton Frondel's line. He deserves to be up
Yeah,
there.
I think he's better than
161 pounds is crazy.
I think he's better than Frondel. Basically, like
When I
there's
watch
no
tape, I did
game
too.
there's no game that I watched that Frondel was better than Eklund. So at some point, like yes, okay, the 160-pound is completely crazy and not translatable to the NHL, especially in the style that he plays. And it's not like you can just ask him, hey, for a couple years, don't play that style. It's not gonna work. So you're probably gonna have to wait a couple years before you fit him into an NHL spot. So you can gain some strength, gain some, put some meat on the bone, so he can not be injured all the time. But I think that if he reaches 175, 180 or something like that, at 5'11", with everything else that he has that. Like, if there's one player that has a chance to be the next Seth Jarvis, I think it's Eklund. So for that, he needs to be at 180. He cannot be at 160 and do that. But what I'm saying is that if there's one player that I see that can reach that type of potential, it's going to be Eklund. I like him that much. It's just there's a risk in that projection. Obviously, it can be anything between not making it and Seth Jarvis. So yeah, it's a big gap. But yeah, I like him a lot, like you can see.
And I think viewers out there that are thinking Seth Jarvis is a completely underrated player. Playing on the Hurricanes, I think hurts him because Carolina just doesn't get a lot of love. But when I asked Braden Coots who his favorite player under 23 was, actually best player in the league, it was Seth Jarvis. Like Seth Jarvis is liked amongst hockey players. He's probably your hockey player's favorite player. These are the way he plays. So I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of like underrated aspects to Seth Jarvis's game, but if Victor Eklund can get to that Seth Jarvis's game, it is definitely a top 10 pick, like a 100%.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I didn't know there was people who didn't
Yeah. Yeah.
appreciate Seth Jarvis' game because, like, he's a 5'10" guy, but he's more around like 185 or something like that. But he's a competitive kid, very tons of skills, skating. He can shoot, he can make plays, he initiate contacts all the time. Like he wins his battles, even though he's 5'10". He's just a pain to play against. And he's a 5'10". So, and Eklund has that style where he can do everything, and he's just as competitive, and he's like a dog on a bone or something like that.
Yeah.
And and so he has the skill set, he has the mentality to get there. It's just he needs to add some strength and some meat on the bone because it's going to be a problem at the NHL level.
Completely agree. And it was just some comments out there that just I don't believe respect his game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they should. They definitely should.
He
So,
put what, like 60, 70 points this season, something like that. Plus, he was
yeah,
one of the most productive Hurricanes in the playoff. Like, I don't know what else you want. But
very true. Very true.
all right,
So,
cool.
for your third tier, where does it start for you?
Just wait a second. I need to fix a little mistake that I did. Because after that, I'm going to try to put it in the screen so people can, like, see what we're doing.
Heck yeah.
After that, the next tier would start with Anton Frondel, and it would go to number 15, I think. Like, the way I see it, I don't want to do like small tier. Like if I do it only for myself, I will have tiers. I will end up the first round with like 15 tiers. Okay? But when I do it like more for the public, and when I'll do my top 32 on YouTube, like there will be tiers, but they're not gonna be as precise. It will be like larger tiers. So I would say like players like Anton Frondel, Carter Bear, Brady Martin, Jackson Smith, Justin Carbonneau, Radim Murka, Lyndon Lakovic are all player of the same tier. So that's basically how I would see it. After that, I think there's a little bit of a drop. Like my next player would be somebody like Cation Aitchison or Braden
Hmm.
Coots, Cole Reshny, and I'm not sure they are at the same level of the other names I just named.
I completely agree. Not with the Fraudel thing because I have him a little higher, but with everything that you said, like Radim Murka, Carter Bear, Jackson Smith, I think needs to be in there. Brady Martin, Lyndon Lakovic. Um, the one person that's teetering is Justin Carbonneau, but I don't think that he's probably in that tier. I think it's a tier below,
Okay.
which pains me because I think then the Habs might be getting him at 16, 17, which would make you very happy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be my tiers right there.
It would make me happy to have him at the Habs because not because of the French thing. Like every time I talk about him, is the first thing that comes to people's mind is the fact that he's French. It's not just that; it's the fact I saw him like 20, 25 times over the last 2 years, like in person. So I like him because I watched a lot of video. I like him because I saw him live a lot of times, but also because the skill set. And he's not like a 5'9" guy with a ton of skill like a Cameron Schmidt or something like that. He's a 6'1" guy, 195 pounds with that kind of skill. So if he puts it all together, he has a very high ceiling. He has a lot of upside. It's just there's work to get there. But like at that point, when you're at number 15, number 16, it's either you take a safe bet like Brandon Coots, who will most likely be a middle six player, like could
Hmm.
play on the third line and could move up on the second line if needed, but most likely a third line. Well, Justin Carbonneau is a notch above that. It's just there's more risk associated to taking him. So it's what you pick and choose. You want safety, you take a guy like Coots or Aitchison, or you want to really hit, maybe, then you go with a guy like Justin Carbonneau.
Completely agree. It's just the upside case.
Yeah.
You. These are lotto tickets at 17, 18. I think that Coots is going to be in the NHL for sure, top nine,
Mm,
maybe third line. But when you take Carbonell, he could be a first line player if he hits, just with that offensive
yeah.
upside. And his secret weapon is power play too. That guy can shoot from any angle. So I
Mm.
really like that there. So he would, yeah, that's a really good play.
But you don't have to put him in your tier. If you don't want him, it's
No, no,
fine.
no. He would be on the outside of that one. He
Yeah.
would be the start of my next year.
So what would be your fourth tier, basically? Because now we have your first, your second, and your third.
Yep.
What would be your next one?
It would be Carbonneau, Hensler, Malcolm Spence, Braden
No,
Coots.
but I mean, like your third tier stops at basically Anton Frondel, right?
Um,
Because what you have right now is your first tier would be Schaefer and Misa. Your
yeah, then
second
Porter
tier that you
Martone,
told me was
Hagens.
Martone and Agans. And after that, you had Roger McQueen, Jake O'Brien, Victor Eklund, and Anton Frondel. So now you'll be at your fourth tier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it would just, I think it would start out with, Radim Murka, Jackson Smith, Carter Bear, Brady Martin, Lyndon Lakovic. Um, yeah, and I think that would be my fourth tier for sure.
All right. So no Cation HSN, no
Nope,
Cole
not yet.
Reshny, no Justin Carbonneau.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Unfortunately, not.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And that's where it gets tough after that because like from a week to the other, like basically you can have a player high. Like I had Jack Nesbitt like 2 weeks ago, he was 16 or 15 in my ranking. Right now, if I look at Jack Nesbitt, he's 25. so,
Wow. Yeah.
so it just changes with every viewing. Every time I just go and watch games, and I'm like, There's potential, but he's slow, and even though his coach is confident that he's a good player, sometimes it's not always there. So it moves a lot until I seal the deal and do the video on YouTube and put my real top 32 or top 64, depending on how I feel. So yeah, but after that, I didn't put that in Lakovic. After my fourth tier, I think. Okay, this one is hard. I'll go with Keishan Aitchison for sure. I think Braden Coots is in there for sure. Cole Reshny, I like him a lot. Sometimes the feet are a problem for me, but I'm gonna put it in for now. Cameron Reed, not right now, because even though I like him and I think he has a lot of skills and stuff like that, I'm not sure what his identity at the NHL level is. Logan Hensler. And I'm going to go with Colin Potter, which is surprising because I have him at number 28. But I think that's the thing, is that in this case, the tiers are not necessarily the same tiers that I will have in my final video, but it's like I'm trying to go with upside, which is why I just think Abano would be in my third tier. But Colin Potter is one of those guys that right now it wouldn't work at the NHL level, but there's a fair chance that he will be a productive player at the NHL level. He has to switch some things. He has to get more to the inside, maybe work a little bit harder without the puck and all the normal stuff for players that are 17, 18 years old, right? But the skating, the hands, the shot, the vision to get into soft ice, it's all high end. So, like, there's a lot of high-end attributes that comes with Colin Potter, and he's a dynamic player. Like, he could be a Frank Nazar, and I think if I tell you, is Frank Nazar top 6 player? I think you say yes, right? Exactly.
100%.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he doesn't
100%.
have the same. He doesn't have the same bite as Frank Nazar. Frank Nazar, like you said last time, you said it well. He's a fourth line player mentality with top six skills. Well, Colin Potter doesn't have that fourth line mentality. He has top 6 mentality, but with the top 6 skills. Just some polishing needs to be done for him to get there. But I believe it's possible. So yeah, I don't have to justify myself.
Only in the comments. No, that's a great tier. That's a great tier. I think mine would be very similar. I don't think Colin Potter just makes it.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. I don't know. I think he's a good player, but mine would be Carbonneau, Logan Hensler, Malcolm Spence here, Braden Coots. I really like.
You gotta slow down because I'm writing them
Oh,
up at the
sorry,
same
sorry.
time. So you said Carbonneau then?
So Carbonneau,
Yeah.
I think that he's an incredible shooter. Logan
Mm-hmm.
Hensler, I think that
Yeah.
he had a tough time in the NCAA. Malcolm Spence, who's going to go to Michigan. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a fantastic fit for him. Did well with
Mm-hmm.
Hage. So this is where I'm going to take Kayshawn Aitchison. I think that very productive player.
Yeah.
Braden Coots here.
Yeah.
He compared himself to Braden Point. I think that that's really awesome. I'm going to say Milton Gastrin. I know this might be high up the board, but I really like the way Milton Gastrin plays. He is always
Yeah.
in the middle of the ice. He will fight for anything. I'm going to say Cameron Schmidt here as well. This might be a little bit of a hot take here, but I like Cameron Schmidt's offensive ability. I think that he should have been a little more productive, but at 5'7", I think that he plays a little bigger than he is. He's 157 pounds, so he really needs to weigh in a
He's
little more.
so far in my list that I have to go all the way down to find him.
I'm so sorry. I'm the worst co-host ever.
No,
Oh no.
it's all right, and I completely understand because he has that dynamic element to his game, like the shot, the skating, the hands. He's not the greatest passer, but I think he opened up a little bit as the season went on. But it's just the 5 foot. He's like 5'7", I think, 150
5'7",
pounds.
157, yeah.
Yeah,
It's tough.
so yeah, it's tough for the NHL, and it's not like he light it up to, like, he didn't put 100 points or 110 points or something like that. Like, in my next video, I will be talking about this, and he's not on Cole Caulfield or the Brincat
No.
level of extraordinary. He's he's a tier under that. And players that are a tier under that, do they make it to the NHL? Outside of Stankoven, I don't think Stankoven is in the same tier. He's a different player, but I don't think he's the same tier as Cole Caulfield or DeBrincat either, at least in terms of goal scorer. And that's what Schmidt does. He scores goal. So if he's a tier under that, like how many is there in the NHL? 5'7" players, 100. Like even if he makes it to 170 pounds, don't care. I mean, if he's 5'7", how many of them is there in the NHL that are not as good as Cole Caulfield or DeBrincat? There's like one.
Yeah, it's tough.
so that's the thing. So that's why I have him low. But I do understand that, like on a skill level alone, he's top 16 in the draft. But it's everything else. It's like a lot of people always say like you don't have to look at size that much. But at that point, when you get to the 5'6" and the 5'7", there's plenty of good players in that range this year. There's Benak, there's Schmidt, there's LG Mooney. They're all really talented player that works hard, that skates well. But it's a big issue. So I accept it that you put it in your fifth tier. But
that closes out my fifth tier, though.
I don't agree.
It's definitely a hot take for sure. I think that he just has top 10 skill in that 5'7" body.
Yeah.
Very tough. But if he makes the NHL, he's going to be a really good player. It's just if he makes it. It's
the same type of pick as Cullen Potter, like I just said. I think probably Schmidt probably has a little bit more skill. Maybe the shot pops a little bit more, maybe, but not that much more. But Cullen Potter is at least 5'10", and he's like 175 already. So you put him in the NCAA for 2 more years, maybe he'll be 5'10", 180, 5'10", 185, whatever, and that's okay NHL size.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great, but it's okay NHL size when you pair that with that skating.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Very true. And while I'm at the combine and I get my measuring stick out, maybe Cameron Schmidt is taller. But yeah, who is your next tier?
My next tier, my fifth tier, basically, it gets even more complicated. I'll start that with Jack Nesbitt. Right here. Blake Fiddler. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'll put Cameron Reed in there.
Yeah.
I'll put Kindle in there. Malcolm Spence in there. Actually, Malcolm Spence could be in the 4th one, but today's in the 5th one.
Okay.
And are we going to keep it at that? I think maybe, yeah, Gastrin and Bill Zonan too. Like Bill Zonan, and Milton Gastrin. Where is he? He's gone? No, okay, no, he's there. So Milton Gastrin. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's a good tier of, like, you get players that are almost sure shot NHL players like Malcolm Spence and probably Blake Fiddler too.
Mm-hmm.
But you also get players with a little bit more upside. Like I think Milton Gastrin, even though he's a safe pick, I think he has a little bit more upside than that. Same thing for Bill Zonan. So it's an okay tier. Like I was thinking of putting Vaclav Nestrasil in there, but I think he's a little bit more risky. So I'm going to keep it to the next tier, I think.
That's a great tier. I love your tier. I wish Václav Nestrasil was in that tier because he's going to be in my tier. But
yeah, well, I get it. That's why I said
totally
it. It's just I feel like there's more risk associated with him than with Bill Zonan, Milton Gastrin, Fiddler. And so like was not even the best player on his team. So.
A 2026 eligible was.
So what's your tier?
My team would be Václav Nestrasil. This is not in any order, but maybe it should be. So hold on to Václav, but I would think that it's.
Oh, but I don't put them in order. I just good. I put a number beside their name, so like this, when I make the video, I can just put the names if I feel like doing it.
So. That's awesome. This guy's a genius. Cameron Reed, I'm going to say. Blake Fiddler. Colin Potter, Kindle, Cole Regini is going to come off the board here.
Oh, you didn't have originally the other one? Okay.
No. I'm going to say Bill Zonin. I really like his game.
Bill
Um,
Zonen. Like that. So
Jacob.
let me repeat what you said, okay?
Okay.
You said Bill Zonan, Vaclav Nestrasil, Cole Rejny, Cameron Reed. Is there somebody else?
Blake Fiddler.
Fiddler. You said Kindle too, no?
Yes, Kindle. Sorry, I went too quick. I got to slow down. It's the coffee.
That's okay. Speeding you up.
Yeah. And then I'm going to do Shane Van Sagi here and Jacob Ishwasniak.
All in the same tier.
Yes. I think that these players are all very, other than Shane Van Sagi, because I could totally see him in a bottom six role because of just the way he plays, but I think a lot of
Yeah.
them are very high upside players. Jacob Ishwasniak is the one that was teetering, but when I talked to him, he said scouts have continued to ask him about his engagement and
Mm-hmm.
his the level he plays at. He said that since December, he's been putting, he took that to note and he's been really trying to play with more aggressiveness and engagement level. And I kind of see what had happened. I
Yeah.
thought that he played incredible after he started playing with that intensity. And I think that he just has really good upside.
Yeah.
So he would
I,
be the
I
only one.
I didn't compare from like games from earlier in the year to games later in the year, so I can't really talk about that. But it's something that's really hard to change to. Like compete level and focus and like engagement in the game is something that you get or you don't get most of the time. Like it's very rare that a player who's not competitive becomes a player that's super competitive. Like it's something you have in you, and that's the way you play. Sometimes it comes from the fact that you were a smaller player, and that's how you need to play to make it to the NHL. And sometimes there's a big player who plays like that too. It's just like I'm not saying he's not competitive. I'm not saying he's not like a good player or anything like that. I see the skills. I see I see what he can do. Like obviously he's a good player that has size. It's just right now he does the offensive part of the game with the puck on his stick. He does it well. Everything else is a bit in the so-so bucket.
That is a really good point there. Maybe he elevates his game for a little bit in the performance area, like in the next couple games, but it's not going to last 2, 3 years. So I understand what you're saying.
It's
Who's in
also
your
because
next? Oh,
he
go ahead.
doesn't have like the physicality. Last time I was comparing him to Casper Altonen. I not necessarily like the style of play per se because they don't necessarily have the exact same style of play. I think like Wozniak is probably more skilled with his hands and maybe also a better playmaker than Altonen will ever be. But Altonen was more physical, more engaged. So like and Altonen was taken in the second round, like I think 33, something like that. So not very far in the second round. But yeah, I don't know if it was not going to be a first round player. Like I would like him to fall a little bit to like 41 for the Habs. We'll see. All right, so next tier would be tier number 6 for me. We'll start out with William Moore, a player that I have a little bit of problem like sizing exactly what he's going to be, but I think at that point he deserves to be there. Shane Van Zaghi, like you, probably a bottom 6 player, like if we're real, but there's always a chance that he could be like a complementary winger on the second line. But I think he's a bottom 6 player, but he's a bottom 6 player that you want on your team. That's the thing because he can destroy everything. Then I'll put Jacob Wozniak there. Who else? I'll put Will Orkoff. It's gonna be a bigger tier, I think. And then we're gonna put Vaclav Nestrasil. It's like you see the difference in my tier is that Vaclav Nestrasil is a high upside player that could just not make it. And there's player like William Orkoff who will make it most likely, but the upside is not at all at the same place as Vaclav and Strezzo. So they're in the same tier, but very, very different players. Um, After that, do I? No, I think I'm gonna keep. Just because there's players that I see. Milton Castro, do I have him? Yeah, I have him. Sasha Boumilian, no. Ryabkin, no. Pshenishka, no. Nathan Bem, no. Yeah, that's gonna be my tier. That's gonna be my tier. So basically, it's Vaclav Nestrasil, Shane Venjagi, Jacob Izwozniak, and William Horkoff. And no, we're gonna keep it at that for now. That's it.
Good tier. I think I'm gonna have a couple of similar players. I know a lot of them were already taken
Mhm.
that I had, but William Moore is a fantastic pick. He will also be in my tier. I really like William Moore's game. I'm going to say Jack Ivankovic and Joshua Ravensbergen here. I just think that this is where they would be. Sasha Wobwadin, Jack Nesbitt, Ivan Ryabkin, even though he was the third best player on his team, maybe fourth, which, oof, coming to the USHL did not do him good. I mean, but he's still a point per game player there. Honestly,
I
he
watched.
performed
I
better.
watched all his goals, all his assists, and most of his scoring chances yesterday,
Hmm.
and I was not impressed by a single one. I was like, "There's not one that I'm like, oh yeah, yeah." But I mean, maybe there was one or two that, but I just don't remember it. But what I'm saying is like, he is far from an impressive player, or far from the player that I thought he was gonna be. Like so far, it's
Yeah.
like there. Sometimes I talk with people, and people will tell me like, I wish he's gonna be there at the end of the first round because he's so high upside. I don't think he's high upside at all anymore. I think like there's a chance he's a top 9 player, but is he high upside? Not in my book. There's nothing that he does that scream a guy who's gonna play on a second line or a first line or that could reach that level. Maybe he comes back, but what I'm saying right now, the way he looks, not at all.
He
So
would need a Michael Misa type of year. Like,
yeah,
dude, his highlights during summer scouting, I was like, wow, this is incredible. I made a fantastic video on him, and I just never published it. It was like him going top 10, and it was just like his incredible highlights in a lower league. And I just thought this guy was, not Ivan Demidov and Michkov, but I thought maybe he could be the next up.
yeah,
He
he
just
never
didn't show
looked
it.
like that. Like he had the
No.
stats of Demidov and Mishkov, but he never looked like that. There's like you didn't never watch him and you were like, yeah, he's on the same level.
Yeah.
He was
It,
never there.
it was like he got so lucky. I have no idea how he got those point totals. I really don't. It
Yeah.
was like it was tough for him because he probably thought, maybe he's 6 foot 200 pounds. Like he's not small. I
Hmm.
think that he could have used his body a little more, but he's not the hard. He's not the soft skill player we thought he was going to be, and that's
No.
what you need when you're talking about two offensive geniuses. And Ivan Demidov, who I'm still crying about at night, and Michkov. But I will say Jack
uh,
Murtag as well. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it was just because I only have 3 players because I was listening to what you were saying instead of noting. So I have Jack Nisbet,
Yep.
William Moore, and Ivan Ryabkin. Did you put Colin Potter in
Yeah.
that tier or
Well, I
not?
thought I put Colin Potter in there, and then
Yeah.
the two goalies, Joshua Ravensbergen and Jack
Okay.
Ivankovic.
Okay, it's just because they're further down. Give me a second so I can find Ivan Kovic, who's like in my 5th round. Okay.
I still have
uh,
nightmares when I took him 23 overall.
I don't find him, but it's okay. I'll find him later. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna do a search. Ivan Kovic. There you go.
Put
I
him in
have
your
him
first
60.
round.
Right now, he's 64.
Holy moly. Okay. That is the champion. Whoever wins the Stanley Cup gets that pick.
So there you go. So you said Ivan Kovic and Ravensbergen, and after that was who? That's it.
My dogs are howling, but Mason West, he's actually
Yeah.
playing hockey.
Yep. 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 Actually, we were talking about him in the podcast that did not record. I will blame Riverside and not myself for that. And but yeah, we were talking about him, and like I was saying, remember I was saying like I think the football was the easy decision and the hockey was the hardest one to do. And the reason why I didn't make a decision yet was because I thought like he preferred hockey, but it was a hard decision to make because of the NIL money and the future contracts in the NFL. And also being like you play the NFL, you're a giant star in the US. You play I don't know. You play in Columbus, nobody knows you. So it's different style of life. So it depends what he wanted, but I'm happy that he decided to play in the NHL. Yeah, but in the NHL in hockey, we'll see for the NHL.
Poor Columbus fans. You just said that, but no, I
No, but
totally
I
get
was
it.
trying to find
No, I totally get
like
it.
a market like it could be Carolina. You know, Carolina, they're a good team. It's just like people go to the rink, they don't have problems selling their tickets, but you don't walk in the street and people are like, "Oh, hey, you're that first line center." Like, no, but if you play for Carolina Panthers, it's different.
I totally get that. I think there'd be no chance that I would get a bunch of these interviews in the NFL draft, even Shitter Sanders, who won in the fifth round, and I got
Yeah,
to interview the number one pick. So there's
yeah,
just a different level of media marketing, in my opinion.
yeah.
There
It's not the
just
same thing.
is. It's just not. Even though I think the NHL is so much cooler in the playoffs. But yeah, that is my tiers for that tier.
All right. So let's go to the next one. And the next one, I think I'm gonna put a bunch of players in there, and basically we're gonna be like, there's gonna be players from the first round and the second round, and that's probably the last tier we'll do today because I don't think we're gonna tier it up to the fifth round or whatever. So next, it's gonna be Max Pshenishka. See, that's how we say it. Pshenishka. I think it's the way we say it. I'm not sure. Ivan Ryabkin. I'm gonna put Nathan Bem in there. Uh, Sasha Boumediene, I'm not sure. Like, obviously the U18s were great, but the rest of the year was not that great. But he's a good skater. He's a very good skater. Like he could be like a who's that defenseman that got offer sheeted from Edmonton? 6'3", Swedish, fast. Broberg.
Brogberg.
It could be, yeah, it could be like a that type of defenseman. Everything clicks, but I think he's far and away from that. I'm gonna put Riker Lee in there too. Even though like the skating is a bit of a problem, the physicality is a bit of a problem. The skills is top 16 all day long. He's so skilled, and I'm not gonna put goalies. I don't like goalies. It's not that I don't like goalies, but I come from Montreal, right? And that's all we've had for years and decades. Like we have Patrick Roy, and after that was José Theodore, and after that it was Carey Price, and basically our teams were built from the goal out, and we usually had nothing out, just the goal. So, so I'm done with goalie. I don't rate them anymore. And I'm also gonna put one of my favorite, but not one of my favorite, not exactly a favorite, but a guy that I really really like, but has a lot of work to do to get to the NHL, and that's Alexander Jarovsky and Mason West. There's plenty of other players I could put like Jack Murtagh and like Bruce Tevics, but I won't. So so I will stop it there. So basically that tier is Max Pshenishka, Ivan Ryabkin, Nathan Bem. I put Sasha Boumediene, Ry Curley, Alexander Jarovsky, and Mason West.
It's a great list. Um, I would say Will Korkoff is coming off the board here for the
You didn't put
tier.
it yet?
Not yet. Same with
All
Cole
right.
McKinney. Yeah. Um,
Cole McKinney, you want to put it there?
yes, I like Cole McKinney a lot, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, it's a good
Carter
pick.
Miko, I'm going to put Carter Miko in there.
All right.
Um,
He's
you
to
know,
me, Carter Miko is like, man, I always forget the name of the guy from the Rangers last year at the end of the first round.
oh, EJ Emery.
Yeah, a strictly defensive player that can't do anything with the puck, and it's like at the NHL level, you cannot have that, or you end up with a player like worse than Ben Sherratt. So it's like it's not that Ben Sherratt is terrible; it's just that he can't move the puck, at least not efficiently. He moves it through the board, and that's about it. But and Carter Miko and EJ Emery, that's what they make me think of. Like players with size, player who shoots right, who are good skater, especially EJ Emery. He's a very good skater, but have no puck skills whatsoever or vision on the breakout and stuff like that. So I have problems with those type of player. But it's okay. It's your choice.
Totally
It's your
get it.
list.
And yeah, he's zero offensive upside. His assists weren't even primary. It's like 13 games, 3 assists in the NTDP. Uh, yeah, EJ Emery's a really good comparison, and I don't even think he
And
might be EJ Emery level.
EJ Emery, I think he had no goal last year, if I'm not mistaken. And he has
He had
like
a terrible
one
year.
goal this year. And this year he has what, like one goal? Like he made it on his
Yeah,
last
like
game or something, something like that. So yeah,
he might have had like 2 points all year.
oh yeah, man, it's terrible. But that's okay.
I don't think the
Uh,
Rangers should have drafted him. That was really interesting. But I'm gonna take Ben Keevan. He got the game-winning medal and the bronze game for USA. Riker
mhm.
Lee, that's going to MSU. I
Who
really
won the
like that.
gold?
It was actually Jack Ivankovic. He was
Oh yeah, yeah, it was,
he
it was.
won gold. Yeah. It was
So
Canada
Ben
for
Keegan,
those. Yeah. Congratulations.
Ben
You got us there.
Benjamin Keegan. After
We
Keegan, you
almost
said
won
who?
we almost won 4 nations, but Riker Lee, MSU.
Right, Kelly. Yeah, right, Curly. Well, there you
And then I'm
go.
gonna take a huge upside swing.
Hmm.
Simon Wang
Simon. Oh yeah, there's
going
upside.
to Boston University. What did you say?
I said there's upside there. Yeah, he's
Good
giant. He
skater.
skates. He skates super well. Yeah, that's not a problem. Oh, I was trying to find Simon, but I wrote Auxie. So I was gonna search it for a long time. All right, cool. And is there another one, or that's it?
Um, yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm gonna
All
stop.
right.
Actually, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop
Realistically,
there.
if you were to pick, let's say you're Chicago, what's your pick in the second round? Do you have more than one, or you have only one?
34, and we have the
34.
Dallas Stars pick.
Dallas too, so like around like
62,
60. Yeah. Okay. So
60. Yes.
at 34, do you take Auxie Wang
I hope
or
not. I
Simon
would
Wang?
cry. Yeah, I would be upset.
Yeah, exactly. So why is he in your
All right,
tier?
well, yeah, when you put it that way, when you put it that way, I guess.
I mean, at 60 something, I understand the bet because of the skating, the size, but the guy has no clue how to make a pass. Like
Yeah,
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 wasn't he
yeah.
saying? I don't know if it was with you that we were talking about that, or it was with Brisé la Glace, but somebody was telling me that when he played in China, they had no practice for passing the puck. So if you were a defenseman and you had the puck on your stick in your zone, you had to skate it out and bring it to the offensive zone. There was no passing scheme, there was no passing practice or anything like that. It was basically skate and shoot. And when you look at it at in the OHL, it fits the description. But, I mean, there is some upside because there is skills, there's the skating, there's the size. So yeah, there is upside, but I mean, it's very risky in my opinion. Very, very risky. So beginning of the second round, I would never do that. End of the second round, I could understand it.
Yeah, I I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, well, so it's not you that told me that. It's Simon from Brisé la Glace that told me that, I guess. So yeah, so those are the tier. Basically done.
Yep. My my dogs are barking. So the next segment now.
So we're gonna start the second segment, and the second segment is basically where we're going to pick players from this draft and last draft, like if it was one big draft, and we're gonna go through that and do a top 16 with that. Was that clear? I'm not sure. My explanation are always not clear, but it is the way that it is. All right. So basically, if we take both lists, the 2024 draft and 2025 draft, the two players at the top are basically Macklin Celebrini and Matthew Schaefer. In that case, if you had to pick between one or the other, which one would you take?
Celebrating all day. Celebrating all day
Yeah.
for sure.
I was gonna be mad if you say something otherwise. I'm just gonna write it down. So Macklin, Celebrini goes at number one, and then when you look at 2024, because obviously 2025 we know that the second player on that list, we just did the tier, so we know the second player is Michael Misa. Would you take Michael Misa? Would you take any of the player of last year's draft, like Damidov, Bouillon, Dickinson, Lev Shunov, Perek, Lindstrom? Like, is there any of those players that you think are better than Michael Misa? Or you, yeah, basically, that's my question.
Well, it's hard because I'm very high on Ivan Demidov. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was like between Schaefer, Demidov, and Misa, I think that Demidov might be the number one pick in this class just because of his upside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say Ivan Demidov if it was me.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, I feel like the Demidov pick at number two is with hindsight. Like it's
Mhm.
because we know what he done this year. Like everybody know that he was extremely talented and he had very high upside in the NHL, but like he was still playing in the MHL in his draft year, right? He put up like 60 points in 30 games and all the stuff that he did and the crazy goals that he did, but he was still playing in the MHL. He was still stuck in Russia. We still didn't know what was going to happen with his contract. So there was a lot of question marks, which is probably why he fell all the way down to number 5. Uh, but so I feel like with hindsight, it's probably clear that he would be number 2. But without the help of hindsight, I'm not sure. I think Schaefer would be the number 2. That's the way I see it. So now it depends. How do
Yeah.
we want to do this? Do we want to do it with the help of hindsight or without the help of hindsight?
I think without the help of hindsight. This is without the
Yeah.
help of hindsight for me. I was big on Demidov. You could just see it. Even a
Okay.
year and a half out, I was like, this guy's incredible. With
Mm-hmm.
Mitchkov, he was signed for 3 years. Demidov was only signed for like one, or they said
Yeah.
he was going to come over maybe 1 or 2 years. Like that was worth the wait in my opinion, because most NHL draft picks take 2 to 3 years. So for me,
Yeah.
he
That,
was
that
actually coming
that
over
was not the
earlier.
problem. The problem was SKA trying to
MHL, yeah,
re-sign him. Yeah.
that's true.
That was the issue. But I'm with you on the fact that Demidov is probably a higher upside player than Matthew Schaefer. I mean, though Matthew Schaefer is super high upside, I prefer if I was on the stage, even though there's no stage this year or whatever, and I was gonna pick, I'd take Demidov all day,
Yeah, yeah.
because I liked him that much last year. Like, but I could understand teams going for Matthew Schaefer because there's more uh, assurance or safety there because
Yeah,
he's Canadian boy playing the CHL. So, but I'll put Ivan Demidov because he's my boy, and because he did what he did against the Blackhawks.
oof. It was such an easy pick for the Blackhawks. It still doesn't really make sense to me, but the scouts saw someone with Levshunov. They saw something with Levshunov. He probably might fall to like 6 or 7 in this rankings video, but who knows? Yeah,
The cool thing is that you're a fan of the Blackhawks. I'm a fan of the Habs, so we're both victim of bad decisions at the draft. You took Lev Shunov, which is going to be a good player, but you passed on
Reinbach.
Demidov. We took
Yeah,
Reinbacher, which is going to be a good player. I don't think he's going to be as good as Lev Shunov, but he's going to be a good player. But we passed on Mishkov, so we both have broken hearts. And at number 3, I guess at that point it would be Matthew Schaefer. I don't think he can go further down the list.
yeah,
So
yeah. Matthew
yeah,
Schaefer.
that one's easy. So now we come back to my question from before, which was, would you take Michael Misa over players of next year, or there were players like last year, like I don't know, Kane Lindstrom or Berkeley Catton or Dickinson, Bouillon, who you would rather have over Michael Misa?
It's Michael Misa. Cannon Lindstrom is injured, um,
Mm-hmm.
and that injury is just getting worse. Beckett Seneca was a high riser and a Pat Verbeek
But
draft
now
pick.
he's playing though.
Well, for Caden Lindstrom, or
Yeah, Kane Lindstrom.
yeah, he is. But I just in yeah, I'm gonna say Misa for sure. I think Misa is a better player than Lindstrom, even if unless he becomes a like a Quentin Byfield, which is some people's comps, which I don't really see because Byfield's hands and playmaking are amazing. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
Visa.
Anyway, I think Misa will be a better player than Quinn Byfield anyway. So,
Wow, yeah,
so
that's
even
probably
if,
true.
even if he becomes a Quinn Byfield, it doesn't really matter at that point. Like if Michael Misa is somewhat similar to what I think he can be, which is like a close to a Stutzler or something like that, then I would take Stutzler over Byfield every single day. Like
Yeah, 100%.
there's no
Yeah,
question for me. Even if he's bigger and even like he started bringing more physicality in his game Quinn Byfield, but it wasn't always consistent, and it's still not always consistent. So I don't know. Michael Misa, Michael Misa put up extraordinary numbers in the OHL. It's really hard to deny what he did. So I think, like, even though I really love Dickinson and I really like Buyam, um, like Michael Misa is still doing things that don't happen often. So Michael Misa at number 4, I'm very good with that. And after that, for the number 5, would you go with a player like a Martone, a James Higgins, or you would go more with a player like Berkeley Catton or any player that you liked last year?
here is difficult. I think I would go
Yeah.
James Haggins. Yeah, I think that it would just
Yeah.
be the pick I
Well, I disagree.
would
Here I would go Sam Dickinson. That's the way I would go. I
play.
think
Interesting. Yeah.
Sam Dickinson. But well, the thing is that for me, Sam Dickinson is in close to the same tier, like very close to the same tier as Matthew Schaefer. I know it's not the case for everybody. There's even people who ridicule me because of that on Reddit, but it's the way I see it. I think, and the thing with Dickinson, there's always the London night factor. Like every player picked in the London Knight. Obviously, there's some exception, but when they play for the London Knights, you can count on the London Knights to make those players so much better than they were in their draft year. And it's basically what's happening with Dickinson. Like Dickinson last year was taking a lot of risk with the puck. There was a lot of time where he was getting turnovers in his own zone, turnovers at the offensive blue line, and then getting odd numbers attack against. This year, really not so much. Like he's leaned on by the team and he creates so much offense, and defensively he's assertive, he's very good, he's physical, he blocks the plays to the outside along the board, he wins his battles, he wins possession, he gets the play moving the other way, and he's such a great skater, like forward and backward. It's not just like he can move forward and transition the puck, he can also really lock it down defensively. I think he's one hell of a player. Like if I remember well, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that I had Buyam over Dickinson. Well, actually, I can tell you. Yeah, I have it here. So I had Buyam at number 3 and I had Dickinson at number 4. Now I would switch it off. I would have Dickinson over Buyam now.
hmm
So now we have to fight.
Boyum and Dickinson were very high on my list last year, and they went 11 and
no,
12. So
no. I mean between James Higgins and
yeah, I
Dickinson.
know.
But
Um,
give me
yeah,
an
I think.
argument.
Okay, so for me, James Haggins is
Yeah.
could have been one of the top players in this entire class, just based on the number one pick, the Islanders. I think that there's a significant upside with a pick like that. I think Jason Dickinson was the second best player for Team Canada on defense, and Matthew Schaefer was the best in those 1.5 games at the Worlds. I think
Mm-hmm.
that that kind of shows how much of a gap there is between Sam Dickinson. I think that Sam Dickinson probably isn't even the third or fourth best player in the 2024 draft class. I actually wanted the Blackhawks to take Sam Dickinson over Levshunov. I think that he was
Mm-hmm.
just better. I think the hockey IQ and the decision making was a little bit off last year, but that wasn't based on really his hockey IQ. That was just based on like he wanted. There was just mental lapses sometimes, and sometimes he didn't
Yeah.
make the right play. And I think that people that watch the games, they kind of just say, "Oh, he doesn't know how to play hockey." Like, no, he made a bad play because he always has the puck on his stick because he's valued higher on that team. So of course he's going to make more mistakes. If you have more at bats, you're going to have more strikeouts. I just think that yeah, Sam Dickinson is a really great player, and so the Sharks lucked out getting him at 11. That trade from 14 to 11 was fantastic for them. And then
Yeah.
the Minnesota Wild got so lucky that Boyum wound up on their team because I think that those two players were in the similar tiers as the top two defensemen last year. I think Artem Leshinov was 3. So when we look back, I think that James Haggins would definitely go a little higher than them just because they didn't go as high. In hindsight's 2020, and I was correct because I'm always freaking correct. No, I'm kidding. But like we were right. Sam Dickinson and Steve Boyum were better than their
Yeah.
draft positions. It just didn't make any sense. They should have been drafted higher than Carter and Chuck. They probably should have been drafted higher than people like Caden Lindstrom and even Beckett Seneca, even though he had a great season. I just think that they were the best players in that class. That was not Macklin Celebrini and Demidov. So I think James Haggins for sure would be higher on there. But yeah, I think Steve Boyan would probably be my next person because I'm not a. I probably have Sam Dickinson a little lower than you, but yeah, I think Steve Boyum definitely deserves to be that next player based on his ability.
Okay, but James Higgins before them?
Yep, James Haggins before them,
Mm,
and then Steve Boyum after.
all right. I'll give it to you.
No, I
Hmm.
think I like your explanation, and I think Sam Dickinson is very good.
So, look, I gave you the James Higgins, and then you say Steve Boyum over Dickinson, but I'll put Dickinson before Boyum.
Yep, do it. Yep.
Right? Like Boyum is very good. He did very good at the NCAA level again, but the progression from draft here to draft plus one is not as clear as Dickinson, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Like Dickinson, there's a clear uh, demarcation between his play last year and like it's not evident like he was bad and now he's good. It's just like the way he controls the puck, the risk that he takes, the decision that he makes, they're just much more NHL. They're quicker, they're less risky. He knows how to weigh the risk versus like let's just move the play in the right direction. So it's what I really like about him. So I'm just gonna write it down. So I have to stop talking a little bit. Stop. No. So Sam Dickinson after James Higgins. And after that, you would put
Yep.
Bouillon, because who's in the 2025 draft? Like Bouillon before Martin?
Yeah. Because Martone might slip to like 7 or 8. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
but it's not a mock draft.
No, it's not. I
It's who
think,
you would take.
yeah, I think Boyum would be better. I bet Martone would be right after. So if you want Martone next, I could totally see that because like if Boyum is lower on your board, Martone's my next player, and it's very very close. They're probably in the same tier. I think it's just
Mm.
pick your poison. 6'3" players with that kind of shot, with that kind of size, that doesn't even use his body yet. I think is very high up on my board. Like I said, he's my fourth player in this class.
It's also Boyum. He measured at 6 feet, like flush last year at the
Hmm.
combine, right? He was like happy that he was the only player from the US or something like that, like at the top of the US that measured at 6. And it's not like 6 is still okay, but it's still a problem for defensemen. Like you don't want 6 foot defensemen. You want like
Yeah,
one, maybe two. And in terms of skills, if you had to like compare Bullion to Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson is smaller, but let's put them like on the same pedestal in terms of skill and offensive output. How do you compare Bullion to a guy like Lane Hudson? Because I think the defense
you
will be
don't.
very similar.
Yeah, you don't offensively. It's Lane Hudson is a Pac-Man joystick. I mean, Bo Jackson type of player. He
Mm.
can turn on a dime. He can make very little happen very, very quickly. I think the size hurts him a little bit in the playoffs when it gets tighter and the ice gets harder, but he's going to be able to learn. I think of like Lane Hudson as like a Duncan Keith kind of player with upside, maybe not the defensive staple that Duncan Keith was, but the way that he moves, the way that he can play make. I think Zeev Boyum is a poor man's Lane Hudson, in my opinion. And if the defense is very similar, that's tough, but I think Lane Hudson might be a very generational offensive defenseman based on the things that he's producing. So even if you're a poor man's Lane Hudson, I think that you're still very, very capable of being a very good defenseman.
Yeah, and at the NCAA level, he was very, very good defensively to Zeev Williams. So there's a chance that he's a very strong defensive player too, not just offensive. It's always hard to project a 6 foot defenseman and say he's going to be a beast defensively. Like
Hmm.
There's not a lot of Brock Fabers, right? There's a few, but there's not many of them. So we put Zeev Buyem after Dickinson and jump to the next one, I guess.
No, I thought we were gonna do Porter Martone after.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay, just we haven't really talked about him. So Porter Matone.
Italian. I like Porter Martone. He said Matthew Tkachuk was his player comp for himself. He's trying to work on his skating, going to the NCAA level. He's going to be practicing for 4 days a
Mhm.
week. His strengths, he knows his strengths. He needs to get better, more physical. Obviously,
Yeah,
I think he would go here, and I want him to be a Blackhawk. That is my thing. I want him to be on Bedar's line.
yeah. I think he's a fantastic fit for Chicago. Like if they go for Anton Frondel, like you seem to think that they might do,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, man. Like, like it's unfortunate because I will probably uh, nag you a little bit with that.
yeah, yeah.
But it's not because he's a bad player. He's a good player, but I think his upside is second line. I don't think he has first line like upside.
Hmm.
And Martone can do like in terms of goal scoring, Martone can do like 80-85% of what Frondel can do, but he does so much more after that, like in other sphere of the game. So I hope for you guys you get Martone. I think it would be a great fit with Bedard, but I wouldn't be against Frondel.
Just the chirps I'm gonna get after the probably the draft episode that we do. Like, oh, oh, my dogs are howling. Give me a sec.
So with the next pick after Zeev Buyem, who do you think deserve to go there? Would it be a player like a Roger McQueen? Would it be a Jake O'Brien? Or now it's the time to jump on a player like maybe Beckett Seneca?
I think I would pick Caden Lindstrom here. Um, I was just not that big of a fan of Beckett Seneca's draft season,
And
and
still,
he, um, I think basically if blinders are off from this year because of the Demidov thing, like I just don't see me picking Beckett Seneca. I like Caden Lindstrom. The back injury is a little concerning, and he missed an entire year, but we wouldn't have known that picking now. I think that Caden Lindstrom is just one of those guys that if he hits, he's going to be a top line producer, one of the best players on your team. I see very similar things with Roger McQueen, but I think there's a lower floor there. Like if
mhm,
Roger McQueen hits, it's going to be incredible upside. I could have went multiple different directions here, but I think Caden Lindstrom would be the guy that I would pick.
okay. I got that question asked to me in my DMs by how is it called? It's the Pond Press. It's basically a guy who writes for the Ducks, like not for the Ducks organization, but has like a website and Instagram about the Ducks, right? Talking about them. And he was asking me a couple questions in my DMs, and I answered them. And one of that question was Roger McQueen or Beckett Seneca. So it's not exactly the same question, but it's pretty close as a question. And for me, if it's like let's say between Roger McQueen, Kane Lindstrom, and Beckett Seneca, for me it's Beckett Seneca. Like it would not have been that last year, but with the hindsight and what he done this year and how dominant he is, not just with the puck, but also without the puck. The way he tracks back and the way he back check lock player from the to the outside, steal pucks, get the puck moving the other way. He's a better skater than he was, which was one. I wouldn't say like it was a weakness, but it was something that was not as strong as the rest of his game. Very tall and lanky, not very big, but just uncontrolled skating. He's much better, but the hands are elite. His playmaking vision are elite, and there's game that you watch that is like a first line top of the NHL type of winger. Like seriously, their game is so good, it's incredible. Like my comparison is a player like Matt Boldy. That's how I see him. Like he could be a Matt Boldy light or he could be a Matt Boldy plus plus. There's really like there's that gap in his game. So me would be Seneca, but I understand the Kenan Lindstrom too because Kenan Lindstrom is an amazing skater. He's 6'4". He's physical. Completely different game. He's not a playmaker, like not a primary playmaker. He can pass the puck. He can see plays develop. He can create some space, but he's mostly more a finisher than a playmaker, at least in my opinion. But he has some good hands, but fantastic shot, fantastic skater, big size, physical. Like he brings what the NHL wants. He's like it's a bit like a Brady Kitchuk with much better skating, like much like 3 levels above, 5 levels above. so so I understand the Kenan Lindstrom. Me would be Seneca, but I'll give you the Kenan Lindstrom.
We could totally put Beckett Seneca here and then Caden Lindstrom after. I feel like it would just be a good move because Beckett Seneca does have a really good size. He's a really good playmaker. I think that he played really well this year for like in the OHL. I think that he's a really good player. So yeah, Beckett Seneca could totally go here. Obviously, Pat Verbeek knows more than I do, and he probably would have gone Artem Levshunov here, but that would be because of need. I think Beckett Seneca, then Caden Lindstrom would go before anybody else, and
Mm.
then there's conversation for the 2025 draft, guys.
So at 9, you want to put Lindstrom or Seneca?
Seneca, and then
Seneca
Lindstrom
first,
at
and
10.
then Lindstrom. So 9, and then 10, we put Kane and Lindstrom. Two lucky teams. There you go. Just gonna sort that thing out. All right, let's go. Next, after that, we have still players from this year. There's players like Caleb Desnoyers, players like Roger McQueen, Jake O'Brien, Victor Eklund, who are all players like in our second tier, basically, that we just did.
Hmm. Yeah, Caleb
And then,
Desnoyers for me at 11. I think that this would just be slam dunk here.
yeah, okay, because there's player like there's of the player that we haven't mentioned here. Obviously, there's Seneca, but we haven't mentioned players like Berkeley Catton, Artem Leshunov, Zayn Perek, Tijiginla. Those are a good player too, but I think I kind of agree that for me it would probably be either Catton, Levshunov, or Caleb Denoyer because Caleb Denoyer, like he's high in my ranking, but I'm not lying to myself, and I don't think he's a point per game type of player. It's just that he's going to have tremendous impact on both sides of the ice, which is just
Hmm.
as important. It's important that you defend, that you help your defense, and that you support them, and then you get the play moving in the other way. It's just as important as the offense, but I think he's more of a 60, 65 point type of guy who has incredible game, two-way game. But at that point, is a player like Lev Shunov, a right shot defenseman who's big, can move the puck, big shot from the point, can make plays, can defend. Well, work in progress, but I mean, he will probably get there because he's a smart kid with like went through steps and steps and steps and steps year after year, starting from Belarusia to USHL to NCAA to AHL to NHL and all this within like 2 years. It's like, I mean, he deserves a spot there. So whatever you
Let's
want.
do it. Artem Levshunov. It makes my fan base of Blackhawks fans very happy, and I won't have to argue with as
Well,
many in the
it's not
comments
about
too.
making them happy. I think he deserved that spot.
I think, yeah, I think he's great. He had a really good game and debuted against Avs. He played really good in his first, 16 plus games, 18 plus games in the NHL this
Mm-hmm.
year. I think that he was overshadowed by Sam Rinzel later in the season. I think Artem
Yeah.
Levshunov is definitely a top four defenseman, and he could probably be a first pair defenseman. I think Sam Rinzel might just be a little bit better, but that's because he hit, and I think he could be a superstar. I think we have two top pair right-handed defensemen on the Blackhawks, and that's going to be scary for playoff time. Like you said, Artem Levshunov has gone up the ranks very, very quickly and has actually looked really sound. I think that he could take multiple jumps and be one of the best defensemen, right-handed defensemen in the league, honestly, with what I've seen. So I think that you know, he'll probably be higher ranked on a lot of prospect pools for the Blackhawks. So yeah, maybe if we take Caleb Desnoyers, I think Artem Levshunov would probably be still our top prospect. even though he's played a couple games. So yeah, I'll say Artem Levshunov here too, and before
All right.
Caleb Lynch or for Caleb Desnoyers.
Yeah, I don't think Lev Shunov have like best right, like top of the right shot defenseman in the league type of potential. For me, I would not go there, but I think he's like take a Rasmus Anderson in Calgary that has, but maybe with a little touch more offense instead of maybe being a 40 point, being like a 50 point, something like that. I don't know if it all clocks out. But what I'm saying is that he has that like that physicality. He's a good skater. He can defend. He's like, let's not forget that Sam Renzel stole the show in Chicago,
Hmm.
but Sam Renzel was picked in 2022. Like, if that's 2 years before Lev Shunov. So even though Lev Shunov was a late in his draft, he's still 2 years younger. So there's a lot of hockey to be played, and I think Lev Shunov can actually catch up to Sam Renzel. But I don't think he's like a top of the NHL type of defenseman. But I think it's gonna give you a lot of help on the right side in the defense to have two big, smooth skating player who can move the puck, can defend, can be aggressive. That's why I think like Lev Shunov at number 11 is good. And who was the other guy who said?
Desnoyers at 12.
Yeah, I can't get him. Too much information.
And then for our
Uh,
last couple, 13, 14, 15, and 16, who do you
mhm.
think is going to go 13?
Well, let me see who's available here. I have too many pages open. It's like, I can't- uh, well, there are high-end defensemen like Zane Perek. I know you're not a big fan of Carter Yakimchuk, but I think Carter Yakimchuk is going to be an incredible defenseman if he cleans out his stride, cleans out the defensive part of the game, and sometimes the risk taking too, which is a little bit of a problem. But like the offense and the size is incredible. Like you don't get a lot of defensemen right shot that are 6'3" that have that level of soft skill and can make so many plays in the offensive zone. There's cleanup to do, but like the upside is very very high. But he could also just be a player that is a power play type of defenseman, and at 5v5 needs to be sheltered a little bit. So not willing to put it here now. Zane Perek, it's different. I think Zane Perek is. I don't think he's a Hudson type of a defenseman, but I think he's close enough. He
Hmm.
has that. He has so much offensive IQ. He sees the ice better than basically any other defenseman that was picked. I don't know, not in a long time, but like in the last couple of years, the way you understand how to create offense, how to create space at the blue line, how to open lanes, and how to just create offense. Like he goes down into the zone, he goes down along the wall, he goes down in the middle. He's just so hard to cover, and he sees everything. He can wire a pass through like all the layers on the ice. It's not a problem with him. He can shoot the puck. He scored like 30 something goals or something like that this year, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been scoring tons of goals since his draft -1. Like his draft -1, he had 20 something goal, which was a record in the OHL. Then like 30 last year, and this year I think it's 30 again. I'm not exactly sure what the stats are. I don't really look that much at the stats, so it's hard to say. But I know it's something around that. But I think he deserved to be in the conversation with players like Berkeley Catton and other players that like McQueen. Yeah, McQueen, Catton, Perek would be like my choice to go up next. Maybe not in
Yeah,
that order, but
yeah,
what do you think about that?
yeah. I think that that's all three of the guys that I would say. I think T.J. Ginla would be the one that's teetering after.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
because I
true.
did like his game too. So I think that those four players are the next four on probably many lists if they were going to do this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like Roger McQueen might be the only one with question marks over Frondell or someone, but Roger McQueen, if you're picking for upside, he's a 6'5" right-handed center. You got to give him
Mm.
credit for that. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, but anyway, if we put Kane and Lindstrom down at 10, Roger McGuinn's got to go down too.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, for sure. He's going to be in
so.
the top
Would you
16.
put would you put McQueen before Berkeley Catton, before Perek, before I don't remember what was the other one.
Tej, yeah, I would
Yeah,
put him.
TJ.
Maybe Parek is higher, and then Roger McQueen.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, and I think
and
I
then,
think that's right because Roger McQueen, there's a there's a big chance, at least a fair chance, that Roger McQueen will be like a second line center. Something like that. It's just
mhm,
that there's also a fair chance that he's a star. Like he has a lot of element in his game that can bring him there, but there are the injuries, and there's also the fact that it's possible that it doesn't all work. Like there's a fair chance he's just a second line center, which is good. It's just like Zayn Perek, like maybe he's not a first pair, but I think he will be a first pair. But if he's not a first pair, he's gonna be like a top four guy who's gonna run a power play and put mad points on the board all the time. Like the type of guy that he's gonna bring your power play up to 25, 26, 27, 30%. A bit like Lane
yeah,
Hudson. Lane Hudson, that's what he does for the Montreal Canadiens. He makes the power play dangerous instead of Mike Matheson, who just shoot the puck in the bay window. So, so, so yeah, I think it makes sense. So Zane Perek at number 13. Sorry, the name at the same time. Followed by Mr. Roger McQueen, the greatest name in the game.
and then 15, in my opinion, Berkeley Catton, and 16 Teach. I think that would just
Yeah.
be the way to close it out.
Yeah.
Maybe you have somebody different at 16, but I think that those two players are well deserving.
No, I mean, where did I have just wait a second so I can open a page? I had to Tijiginla at number 12 last year, but the only players that we haven't mentioned, like outside of Katin, who's going to be placed down in this list, are Anton Silayev, who didn't have that much progression in his game, and Trevor Connolly, because I just love
Yeah.
the skill speed type of package, but I'm not sure how it's going to go at the NHL. I think Tijiginla is a bit of a safer pick, not just a bit, a lot safer pick, and you
Mhm.
lose on the skill and speed, but you don't lose that much, and you win a lot in terms of combativeness along the board and in the corners. So I think Tijiginla is a better player right now than Trevor Connolly, and it's very possible that it stays that way too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I think that
I
was
guess
great.
Katten and Iginla. That's the way it goes.
And then just what are the top 16? And then next.
You want me to say the top 16? That's what you're
Hmm.
saying? Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
at number one we have Ivan Demidov. No, we have Macklin Celebrini,
Yeah.
followed by Demidov, and then at number three Matthew Schaefer, Michael Misa, James Higgins at number five. Follow that up with Sam Dickinson, Porter Martone, Zeev Buyam, and then Beckett Seneca, Kanan Lindstrom, Artyom Levshunov, Caleb Denoyer, Zane Perek, Roger McQueen, Berkeley Catton, and Tijiginla. So
What a
that's
list.
good. So how many
Yeah.
players of each draft? I'm kind of a little bit curious. So we have Celebrini, Demidov, Dickinson, Buyam, Seneca, that's five. Lindstrom, six. Levshunov, seven. Perek, eight. Catton, nine. And Iginla, 10. So we have 10 and six, proving the point that the
Interesting.
2024 draft was stronger.
Yeah. That is interesting.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's jump to the next segment where we're going to be talking a little bit about the Habs and the Blackhawks and see who we think they could target at the NHL draft. We'll come back in a bit. So here for the third segment, we are going to talk about the draft picks and the draft targets for the Hawks and for the Habs. We're going to start with the Hawks. And still, since you're a Hawks fan, you know the team, you know the prospect pool, you know basically everything about them. So tell us a little bit about who you think they should target at number 3 and number, I think it's 25, the other pick, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
for number 3, I think it's going to be between James Haggins, Porter Martone, Caleb Desnoyers, Anton Freinel, and my dark horse is Jake O'Brien, the Brantford Bulldog. Rip Zach Hyman, who is the president and governor of the team over there in Brantford. But I think that those are the players that are going to be gapped into who the Blackhawks want. We have a really good depth pool for our prospects. I think probably the best in the entire NHL. Not maybe the best, but I think it's definitely more depth than the Habs. But yeah, I think that we need upside, upside, upside. I don't think Roger McQueen's going to be the pick there, but because he probably has the most upside. But James Haggins is under 6 foot. Some people got on me named blue chip prospect for me taking him with the third pick in our first mock draft that was unrecorded. And I think that would be a good pick because of the playmaking ability.
Yeah.
However, I think Porter Martone would be a fantastic option, and Caleb Desnoyers being compared to Captain Sirius, who just said he was going to try to come back to the NHL. That's so awesome. I think it would be cool to bring him back, Caleb Desnoyers, in that. So, who do you think should be
Well,
the
yeah,
Blackhawks pick?
I think the perfect fit, like there's no perfect answer because I think they do need like a solid center with some size, at least for the second line. I think there's a fair chance that Connor Bedard will stay the first line center. I don't think he's going to be moved to the wing. Like his face off are getting better, engagement is getting better, and he's going to grow. He's a smaller kid. He's a very young kid too, so I think he's going to be fine at center. I don't think that's really an issue. So they have two ways they can go about it. They can get a second line center like a Caleb Desnoyers, Anton Frundell, if that's what they want, and or a McQueen. But I think at that point, you just go with the highest upside type of guy to match with your Connor Bedard. That's going to be your first line center. You don't try to reach a little bit and go for need at that point. Like you go with the player that you prefer. But I think Porter Martone is such a great fit. But knowing the Hawks and the way they draft, I think they like right shot defensemen. So maybe Radin Merka. No, but Porter Martone is the perfect fit, and I think offensively he's probably the highest upside left on the board too at that point. So
Mhm.
yeah, it would be a great pick for them.
And for Connor Bedard's wing, would you rather have a Caleb Desnoyers or Porter Martone? Because Caleb Desnoyers is valued and projected to be a Jonathan Taze-esque player, or a Porter Martone who would be that power forward with softer skill, Matthew Tkachuk type.
Well, your question is for Bedard's wing,
Yes,
but Caleb Denoy is not going to play on the wing.
that's true. That's true.
So,
You got me there.
Caleb Denoy is going to lock down your second line, and he's going to be the matchup center. While you can
Mhm.
put like Connor Bedard and whoever else on that first line playing against a weaker defensive line. So that's basically how they would probably do it. But like personally, right now I have Caleb Denoyer at number 3 and Porter Martone at number 4. But they're in the same tier and they just bring different stuff. So I think Porter Martone is probably a great fit to play with Connor Bedard because he's going to open space and because like I said earlier, I don't know if you were recording when I said that, but like out of his 40, he scored 41 goals including the playoff in the OHL this season, and out of those 41 goals 29 of them came from the low slot. So we're not talking like high between the dots or something like that. We're talking low slot. So that is dangerous. Like the guy has soft hands, he has high IQ, he has a good shot, and he's always around the net. He's trying, he's always bouncing on second chances. And when it's not a second chance, well, he can bury the first chances too because he has such a great catch and release, and he's always around the net using his hands trying to score. So if you can have a guy that can open the space, can score, he's also he's a very good playmaker. He's probably a better playmaker than a scorer. So I mean, he's a perfect fit. But it really depends. Do you want to go all offense and with a little bit of like I don't think he's a Matthew Tkachuk. Like to me,
Mhm.
I don't see it that way. I don't think he's as much as a disturber or chaos creator as a Matthew Tkachuk, but he has a little bit of it in him, like a little bit of you know, a little bit of rah. which Denoy doesn't really have. So it really depends what you want. You want to lock down your second line or you want somebody to play with Bedard?
Great answer. That was absolutely great. You definitely got on me. Like I totally agree. Caleb Desnoyers is not a winger. Um, yeah, you were right. So that's 1 point blue chip prospect, zero for prospect on. But for the Habs, who were your targets? And don't get
Weren't you doing
into.
the 25th pick? 25th pick first?
Oh shoot, yeah, I'm terrible. Yeah, 25th
That's
pick, of
okay.
course.
But
Vas
yeah, so You do
Vassilav
25th
Nestor
pick, and
still.
even there, you have also the 34th that's just right
Yep.
behind, so we can
Yeah.
like,
We could
yeah,
touch on that too.
yeah,
Yeah. Vassilav Nestor still. I really want this kid. 6'5". Uh,
yeah.
Probably better than Ivan Ryabkin this year. I think that he has a ton of upside. He had four brothers that played hockey. One of them was drafted in the third round of the Red Wings. I think that this guy is
Mm-hmm.
just what the Blackhawks need. Upside, upside, upside. I think if Braden Coots falls this far, you pick him. I think Logan Hensler, which is lower on your board, if he's lower on other people's board too, you take him just because of, you want that third pair right-handed defenseman that is big. He has a little bit of playmaking in him. He has an offensive upside. He was the youngest player on his team. I feel like Logan Hensler would be a good fit because defensemen are going to take 2 to 3 years out. If something happens to Sam Renzel and Artem Levshunov and they want to leave or something happens, you need more prospects in your system. I think Logan Hensler would just be somebody that would fall and you could get him. I like Milton Gastrin at 25 a lot. I think that he would just be one of a third line player with upside, with top six upside. We just need that. We need players that are going to play so that you could potentially trade some of these prospects and picks because we have 12 in the first 3 rounds until 2027. That's crazy. Just take the highest upside available. For 34, just to touch on this a little bit, I think like a player like Jack Ivankovic would be really good here. Matthew Schaefer said he was the best player he ever played against. Um, Obviously not Simon Wang, but I think a player like Cameron Schmidt, if he's falling, you pick him up, just highest upside available. Even if they don't hit, you need a player that could play on your first or second line, maybe somebody that's a power play. I want them to package the picks similarly what
Yeah.
the Habs could do with 15 and 16 or 16 and 17. You take that and you package them, try to get as high as you possibly can because we have so many picks, and then we have the Dallas Stars second round pick. So we already have a second round pick and an early third, which is basically a late second. Package that 34th and 25th pick, try to go up and grab somebody you want. Maybe if you need to put in some more assets to get a Jake O'Brien, leave the draft with Porter Martone and Jake O'Brien. Be fantastic. That would be a prospect on special to me. I'd be eating a cannoli after that. But if you're talking about some player like Mason West as well and a Shane Van Sage, we don't have that. We need someone that can bring the punch that is heavy, that might not get you the most point production, but is going to beat the living heck out of you during the playoffs. So, and Cole McKinney is going to be my last pick there. Really like this kid. He was very high on my board in summer scouting. Kind of fell a little bit with William Moore. I think both of those players are very good. I don't know if William Moore would fit on our team. He's even though he's 6'2", 174 pounds, he's just not like maybe he's already taken. I actually think that he's going to go in the first round. So I'm not going to say him at 25 because I think that's too high, but 34, in my opinion, is too low. So I'm going to say Cole McKinney here too. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I agree with the Vaclav Nestrasil at 25. I think, like you said, you go for upside. If there's a player like maybe Malcolm Spence who could be available, you go
Love that. Yeah.
Malcolm Spence. But I disagree with the Logan Hensler because of the fact that you already have Sam Renzel and Lev Shunov,
Yep.
who are going to be both top four defensemen. Like there's a fair chance that Logan Hensler is a top four defenseman. I don't think you want to use a first round pick to grab somebody to play on your third pair when you can use like second and third and fourth round pick to do that, or you can use a free agency or the trade market to do that. Like at that point, don't waste a 25th overall pick to get a third pair defenseman unless there's something special about him. But it's like I don't think there's anything special about like Hensler. He's good, but I think I wouldn't do it. I think Vaclav Strazel is probably the best pick possible here.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at my list, honestly, for players that could be in the first round, there's Vaclav Strazel. That's basically it. And or he could be a Milton Gastrin too, another player that has some size, probably not the same type of upside. But I think he can play in the middle six, and that's usually what you get when you're around the 25th. Yes, Nestrasil has more upside, but there's more uncertainty with his game. Like Milton Gastrin will probably play. It's just maybe he won't end up as high, but we don't know how high Nestrasil is going to end up. And for the 34th pick, I would not go with a goalie, but I don't know the goalie situation that much. And didn't you just grab Carter Hart or something like that? Or no, what's a
It was
Um,
Spencer Knight.
yeah,
Carter.
exactly. I was being mixed up a little bit. Not the same guy, but yeah. So you just got Spencer Knight. Like I would try to bet on that and the other goalie that you took in 2023, 2020. Yeah, 2023.
Adam
Who was the
Guyan.
goalie?
Adam Guyan, 35th
Yeah,
overall, and then Drew Commesso, who was 46th. I think I see
yeah,
big things with Drew Commesso. Adam Guyan, we should not have drafted. I
yeah.
was rooting for Michael Harabel and Jacob Fowler because not at the second round, because Nathan Grav was always he was on Jacob Fowler from the start,
Mm,
and I started watching. I was like, this guy's really good. I did not think that he was a second round like a top second round pick, but we had so many. I thought it was going to be either one of those two goalies. Not that I
yeah.
called Jacob Fowler because I didn't. I didn't think he was going to be this good, but Adam Guyan, like he was not. He was undrafted the year before.
Mm.
I do not like using those picks on players
And
that were
the
undrafted.
reason why I wouldn't go with Ivan Kovic or something like that at number 34 is that I think he will be available later in the draft. So if you have your third round pick, that's a high third round pick, right? Then you maybe he's going to be available then, or and if
Yeah,
he's
and
not,
the Stars
there's
pick.
uh and the stars pick too.
That's
And
yeah,
if he's not, there's other uh goalie that projects similarly. Like it's not like Ivan Kovic is a world breaking machine. He's still a 5'11" like goalie. Like there's a chance he
yeah,
make it, but
yeah.
there's also a fair chance that he doesn't make it at all. So there's
Totally get
that.
that.
So me, I would go with still forwards, but still forwards with size. So any one of like Van Zaghi, like you said, or Will Horkoff is a player that I would like there too. I think he has good skills. If Jack Nesbitt hasn't been taken, I think you jump on Jack Nesbitt at 34, but I think he will be taken by then. Um, yeah, I think players with size that also have skills like Van Zaghi, it would be a good pick for the Hawks here.
That was great. That was great. I yeah. Will Horkoff had an incredible season with Michigan, based on how big he is too. So I like that you said that. But for the Habs,
Yeah, for
where
the
would
Habs,
you go for 16, 17?
yeah, for the Habs. Well, first I'm gonna have a full video on that coming in the next 2 weeks, where I'm gonna be diving onto the team and uh, actually analyzing what we have in the prospect pool and what we have at the NHL level and what we should be targeting. Because at 16, 17, a team that just made the playoff, that is on the tail of the rebuild, it's time to start targeting player. It's not just take the best player available no matter what. No, you have to build a team that's going to be winning at some point. So yes, we made it to the playoff. We might make it next year. We might not, but we're on the tail end of the rebuild. So we got to like target players that we need. And what we need is basically right shot defenseman and centerman. Like a second line centerman would be very good for us. Is there any available at number 16? I doubt it. I doubt it, but that's what I would be aiming for. But the thing is, I don't think there will be any centermen that like that are worth that will be that second line centerman that will be there at number 16. So then you have to go with upside or right shot defenseman. And the right shot defenseman, they're like players like Fiddler, but I think that's high. Player like Hansler, and I think that's high. I don't think Mertka is going to be there. So then still, again, you're left with players that you don't really want. Like, is Hensler better than Rainbacker? No. Is he better than Mayu? He's different. Is he better? I'm not sure if he's better. So I would probably go with high upside player like Justin Carbonneau, which would be a great fit. And no, it's not because of the French factor. It's because he's just a high upside type of guy, and that's what we need. We don't need other Oliver Kapanen and Owen Beck and player like that. We need player that can play in the top six, that have some size. I don't want, like, even though I love Cole Reshny, I don't want to pick a Cole Reshny because he's another 5'10" player that doesn't have necessarily the greatest feet out there too. So it's like the projection is hard, even though he has a lot of skills. If there's a Lyndon Lakovic, I would love a Lyndon
Oh
Lakovic at
yeah.
number 16. And yeah, so basically just pick highest upside possible. If Carter Bear is there, he's the number one. If not, it's Justin Carbonneau or Lyndon Lakovic. But those players are probably the player I would be targeting, like player who are likely to play in your top six.
So I saw something yesterday that said that the Habs really like Roger McQueen, and if it's not Roger McQueen, they could potentially go to Carter Bear because they like him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is exactly upside, upside, upside here. Imagine Roger McQueen. with, you know, all of the pieces that the Habs have. I don't even know where Roger McQueen would play. You guys are stacked. I don't know which line he would play. So that would be absolutely incredible. And like I've said time and time again, Carter Bear's skating isn't what got him here. It's his hard skill. That's what he said many, many times. He compared himself to Brandon Hagel. If the Habs have a Brandon Hagel who can win you games in the playoffs, I think they're the scariest team in the honestly the league. You guys are stacked. So
Yeah, but the
congratulations.
problem is we're stacked everywhere except 2C.
2C. So that okay, so Roger McQueen
Yeah.
would be 2C. Actually, the perfect fit for you guys, in my honest opinion, like perfect fit. Like trade every asset you have for this guy if he's falling is Caleb Desnoyers. If Caleb Desnoyers is
Yeah.
available, I think well, the thing is like he's just the perfect fit for the Habs, especially in
Mhm.
the playoffs and everything. Like that is like if we're making a video on best players for best team fits, I think
Mhm.
Caleb Desnoyers and the Habs are probably the best one.
Yeah, probably, but I don't think it's possible to get Caladinoia. I think he's gonna go like too high in the draft. But I think at
Yeah.
Roger McQueen it's possible because of the injury, depending on what's gonna happen at the combine. But if he drops to like 8, 9, 10, well, then I think the Habs have to package everything they need to
Yeah.
get there. Because like that we last year they moved up to 21 to grab Michael Hage, who's a center.
Great pick.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he projects as a center. That's the problem. Like he plays a lot like a winger, and he could be a very good asset on the wing using his speed to make plays. So like I'm not 100% sold on him as a center. So I think like to have another player that can project as a second line center would really help to like solidify that top six because right now like our second line center this year was like sometimes New Hook, sometimes Dvorak. Like you're not gonna go far in the playoff with New Hook as your second line center,
Mhm.
and then probably next year we're gonna try Kirby Dak again because he was injured, so and it didn't go well when he came back. So I'm sure they're gonna give him another chance. They're not like just say, well, now you're a bottom six player. Like the guy has skills, the guy is big, the guy can skate, so he can make it there, but it's still a maybe. So
Mhm.
I would like to stop with the maybes and grab player with high upside, and that would be like a Roger McQueen if he's available.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yep,
2C.
I'm always awesome.
That's why you like subscribe to Blue Chip
Yeah,
Prospect. The guy's the greatest.
yeah. So I guess that is it for today. We
Yep.
went through the tiers. We drafted 16 players from the 2024 draft and the 2025 draft to kind of look which draft was stronger. And then we talked a little bit about the Hawks, talk about the Habs. I'm gonna have a full Habs video coming. So we did good. Huh?
Yeah, it was
so
great. We did great.
so yeah, so thank you for coming on again. And by the way, this is going to be a weekly podcast for now. It's not just a you saw it once, you liked it, so we did it another time. We decided to do it like weekly. We might do some live too, like you talked to me yesterday that you wanted to try to do some live stuff. So we're gonna be working on different stuff. We're gonna bring you some more content. We're gonna bring you some shorts like he does. We're gonna separate clips. We're gonna do the full podcast. A lot of content coming, and that's it. So thanks for coming on, and see you in the next one.
And drop your
Peace.
comments
Well,
for
no peace
questions.
then.
Yeah. Drop your
All
comments
right.
for questions. We'll
Yeah.
do a
All
Q&A.
right. Cool. All right. Peace.